to
Yeah,
wait?
the webinar is being live streamed. Okay.
Okay, let's start. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to thank our organizers, our partners, for organizing such an important event and allowing me to participate in it. And I would like to welcome our esteemed panelists and the attendees who tuned in. And I would encourage you all to post your questions in the right side of the screen in the panel dedicated for the chat. And we will discuss them out after they provide their inputs. Without any further ado, I would like to present our panelists and welcome them. I'll give a very, very brief introduction to each one of them because they have vast experience in international cooperation and very diversified and deep knowledge and education. So I'll start with Ms. Reem Saeed. She is the General Director of Research Valorization at the Ministry of Higher Education and Scientific Research of Tunisia. She is the holder of a master's degree in architecture and urbanism. Dr. Mohammed Wagih, Senior Project Officer and currently at Prima Secretariat for Agri-Food Thematic Area. He's a certified ILO monitoring and evaluation specialist and KPI specialist. Dr. Mohammed Al-Jafari, Director of Intellectual Property Commercialization Office at IPARC, the Royal Scientific Society, and he has a PhD in Pharmaceutical Sciences from Nottingham University. As I said, this is just touching or scratching the surface of their knowledge, so I will give them the floor if they would like to further introduce themselves and enlighten us with their valuable information. Thank you. Who would like to, Dr. Mohammed Jafari or Ms. Reem? Ladies first. Let's start with Ms. Reem.
Of course.
If that's okay.
Merci beaucoup. Vous permettez, je vais parler en français.
Absolument, si vous voulez.
Merci beaucoup. Donc, je suis responsable en fait de la valorisation de la recherche au ministère de l'Enseignement supérieur, de la recherche scientifique et tout ce qui est en lien avec la valorisation, bien évidemment, la propriété intellectuelle, la mobilité des chercheurs, le transfert des technologies, tout ce qui est en lien avec la valorisation. Nous sommes responsables au niveau du ministère, donc nous sommes une structure publique. Et par conséquent, nous appuyons les chercheurs pour tous leurs travaux et leurs besoins en matière de transfert et de valorisation des résultats de recherche. Et bien évidemment, et essentiellement aussi, la création des startups issus des résultats de recherche innovants dans les structures publiques de recherche. Donc, on balaye pratiquement toute la chaîne de valeur au niveau du transfert, au niveau de notre direction générale au ministère de l'Enseignement supérieur. Voilà, en gros, les missions qui nous sont attribuées au niveau du ministère de l'Enseignement supérieur et de la recherche scientifique de Tunisie. Merci.
Merci, Madame Saïd. Dr. Jafari, would you like to go, please?
Thank you so much for the very nice introduction that you gave and for hosting this very interesting discussion session. I have to say that the subject that we are talking about today is really a hot topic and something that has been both a key success and unfortunately very often I wouldn't say failure, but fails to capitalize fully on its opportunities. The subject of platforms, challenges and opportunities in research valorization. This is intrinsic because we always say that innovation is a group activity, it's a network activity. Nobody innovates alone and definitely nobody valorizes on their own. You need partners, you need to move forward, you need to find your partners through networks. And If you'll allow me to share my screen now, I've put together just some opening remarks that I wanted to put forward around this subject. Let me share my desktop. Here you go. Oh, here we go. Can you see this slide now? Okay, very good. So the thing that
yes.
very brief three main points when it comes exactly three brief points when it comes to thinking about platforms, challenges, and opportunities is that what do platforms actually do? Okay, platforms do not create really big opportunity models. They create opportunities, but the economic systems that allow these models to unlock their value must predate the network itself or the platform itself. What do I mean? What I mean is that if there is a way for an innovator to profit from their innovation, okay, there is a way for them to make an investment or to go on a stock market or to sell a patent, then a platform and a network and all these clustering activities, they have the potential to supercharge this model and bring it to very high activation. But platforms do not really make money out of thin air. They don't create wealth if there isn't really a system to valorize on research outputs. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because there really isn't a business model or an economic model that is clear that proves that investment in scientific innovation in the South Med is profitable. Okay, this is a very difficult situation to be in. And we feel this because we tell entrepreneurs or we tell administrators or we tell policymakers, listen, you have to put more money into innovation, you have to invest in research, you have to, and they ask us a very difficult question, why should we do that? We say, we know that this is important, but they keep coming back and saying, okay, but show us examples. And unfortunately, the number of examples that we have is not high enough, okay, to really justify huge expenditure. We have a lot of knowledge. We know that this will make a lot of jobs, it will create prosperity, it will solve societal problems. But the number of activities that we have is not sufficient to justify this. So when we put together a platform, we have to fit it to what is already existing. So now we ask the question, how can platforms be more impactful, okay, in supporting exploitation of research outputs? And what one of the reasons we like this kind of project and this setting, it's perfect for what we need. In order for a platform to be effective, then maybe it has to expand the innovation, the joint innovation space, geographically and within sectors, and to introduce an active brokerage element. What does that mean? It means that a platform can bring innovators and researchers and entrepreneurs from the South Med together with large industry players from within Europe. Suddenly it plugs different gaps in the ecosystem, so it can bring in experts from Europe with the large industry from Egypt, or it can bring olive producers from Tunis in contact with the know-how from Palestine. So this is something that a platform can do. This is why these platforms that we are working with are so important. Okay, they transcend the limitations of the economic system into something much bigger. And this is really important. So the third point is to do with classifications and technologies. So we have a platform and we load some data onto it. There is so much rich opportunities to capitalize on the billions already spent by the EU and various other donors and institutions on research that is already done. It's already successful. It already showed results. But how do we make money out of it? The lack of data availability, and we feel this every day in projects like WEFCAP, in projects like FIMAC. It really is a painful thing not to know after a project finished what actually happened. Or even during the project, it's easier because you can talk to the people. But after the project, it's so difficult to find out what the results are. So this is really a big problem. The data availability is huge. And here we come to the second slide. This is just the second part of my opening statement. How do we look forward to more exploitation and more capitalization? And I put 3 basic suggestions here. First of all, to counter the fact that there's no viable economic model to unlock the value of innovation, we have to showcase the model. And in order to do that, we have to be more transactional. We have to be engaged in something that looks like business development, really. Make deal happen, unlock value, make people rich, and then show, like, see, it works. People can create jobs through innovation. The second thing is really, again, to counter the idea of a joint innovation space expansion through platforms. Activate the common innovation space, activate the joint innovation space between the European and the South Med, okay? Waiting for the fragmented South Med ecosystems to mature is going to take too long. We have to integrate the ecosystems together, and then they will mature from within, and not wait for each ecosystem. This is why really frameworks like ENI, CBC Med, like PRIMA, like Horizon 2020 and FP7 in the past, like Horizon Europe that we are looking forward to, these are so important. They really expand the common innovation space. The last is a very specific suggestion for ENI, CBC Med. We heard today that there is the new generation, the third generation of ENI is coming up. And the suggestion I have here is to integrate capitalization into each call. So we don't have to have a separate capitalization call. We need now because we've never done it before. But in the future, maybe each project will have a locked-in value, an extra value for capitalization that the project owners or the project partners can apply to after, say, one year of the project or after 1.5 years. This makes capitalization so much more effective, because I'm a fan of capitalization projects, and we're now leading WEFCAP, which is a capitalization program that we're very proud of. But I know that it's taking time to, rev up, to get everybody on board. If capitalization is integrated into the original project, then it can move forward. And also, you can allow for multiple projects to capitalize together, to group their budgets together, so project A has a capitalization budget and group project B, then maybe you can, incentivize them to group and capitalize together. But I think it is not fair or really wise to consider that capitalization is a separate activity from the project. It really should be part of the project. And like I said, we're partners in WEFCAP. We're very proud of this project. We're leading WEFCAP. We're partners in FEMAC. We love capitalization projects, but I think it's time to start integrating capitalization into the projects themselves. Also, this will help with data availability issues. So this is my opening statement, and I look forward to our discussion coming forward.
Thank you, Dr. Jafari. You've given us a plethora of points that we can build on different focus groups to discuss. Thank you so much. Now we'll go to Dr. Mohammed Wadi for his opening.
Okay, thank you so much, Pakinam. First of all, good afternoon to all of you all over the Mediterranean and the world. We know that it is hard time, but in fact, the topic of this focus group is really relevant to the time of COVID, dealing with platforms like the Zoom or other platforms for data sharing. This is something really relevant for the meanwhile. I'm going to share my presentation now. Perhaps I think you can see it now. I'm going to stick to this 10 minutes, Pakinam. Okay, so today I'm Mohammed Wadi. I'm the PRIMA project officer for the agri-food value chain. Today I'm going to take you in a quick journey on the different PRIMA as a program, as a funding program in the region. What were the challenges that we faced during developing our different funded products platforms, and what solution that we applied, and our recommendations or the lessons learned from this process. Okay, here I'm going to just list down the challenges, or let's say the open questions that we need to find an answer before going to the code and code development and to the developer and start designing our platform. The first, do we have a real answer for this question? Like, why do we need to develop this platform? It is not just we have some very useful technologies, okay, and a lot of features. So perhaps we wanted to do this and that and so on, and then we will lose the focus of our platform. So it is very important to define first our vision and mission and objective of this platform. Second, as Dr. Ghaffari mentioned, that the heart and the core of any platform, it's the data. This is the most element that you are going to consume your time and effort and money as well, to collect the data, gather it, clean it, check it, make sure it's accurate and so on, and then start publishing on the system or your database or your platform. But the other side of the story, that sometimes you got swamped by the data, like you have huge amount of data, a lot of KPIs, indicators, so you get lost and you wanted to publish as much or make it available as much as you want to the users. So it will end up again with like huge information are gonna to be published on the system. The users will not be able to navigate between different areas and so on. And this would reflect on increase the complexity and to have the unuser-friendly platforms that you didn't consider how you are going to present wisely and in an effective way the data that you are going to collect. Another challenge or problem, which is the standardization. It's very important when you start talking about, let's say, web indexes. Okay, this is a common understand term that, okay, when I publish this in my platform or use it in an event and so on, so everybody will be familiar with these terms such as the TRL, KPIs, web indexes, and so on. This is very important to consider while drafting or designing your platform. Again, digital users and lack of the capacity, it is important as well in your once developing such a platform to consider the raising the capacities of intramural and extramural users, such as your staff, for instance, so they are going to use the platform and the database to its maximum benefits. As mentioned already by our colleague here, Dr. Ghaffari, the fragmentation and repetition. We noticed that over years, we have several funding agencies that more or less funding exactly more or less the same platforms, the same collection of the data and data sets. And this part is also linked to another challenge, which is the maintenance and the sustainability. Like once your project finished and the grant end up, so the data will be vanished accordingly. So this is something really we saw in several other programs and activities. And in the next slide, I'm going to show to you how we in BRIMA tried our best to solve these issues from our perspective. So let me share with you the different BRIMA platforms. So the first question we asked ourselves, which is the objective or the purpose of this of these different platforms. So we have different solutions or different objectives or aims for who are using the platform for dissemination and for partnering, for the submission and evaluation of the newly submitted and submitted projects, for statistical analysis and showing the KPIs and the results of the program, and last but not least, for the monitoring and evaluation and learning for the funded projects, so the projects and the applicants and consortia can monitor the progress of their projects. Very quickly, just snapshots on different platforms that we are applying, and then I will finish with final conclusion or recommendation. First, for dissemination and partnering, we know that, you may know that we have the BRIMA social media channels and the website and the partnering tool here at the right side, where you can filter by country or by thematic area and by the type of the entity. We encourage all participants and applicants to build their profiles on this platform, so you can be as well approached by other future applicants if they are looking for a Tunisian company, for instance, working in a farming sector, so they can go to this portal and check and find your contact and approach you. There are another very useful partnering tools such as the funding and the tender portal, where you can search by country or keywords, such, for instance, you are an expert in solar energy, so I wanted to look for solar energy companies in Spain or Germany and so on, so you can do this. Also, we encourage you to use the Cordis portal, because this is a place where you can find all basic information about the projects already funded by the European Commission, starting from FP1 till the Horizon 2020. Another set of or group of very useful partnering platforms, such as the Enterprise Europe Network, and this is more specifically for the private sector. And finally, we used to encourage the applicants to communicate with their national contact points or to approach them either on the BRIMA website or by the Horizon Europe platform. The second set of platforms or systems that we are using is for the submission and evaluation. And we're thankful for the French platform, the ENR, which is very reliable and robust platform, which is used by the applicants for the submission, by reviewers for the evaluation, by the national funding agencies and the BRIMA Secretariat to manage and to monitor the progress of the evaluation and the submission process. And then for the statistical analysis, this is you know that at the time of COVID, this is not my vaccination QR code, but I'm inviting you to scan this code by your mobile. It will direct you to the BRIMA analytical tool that we now open it for the public, where you can navigate through different platforms and you can do some filtering to see the number of and different projects that funded by BRIMA, the countries, the participants, the scope, and all these aspects. And this is the last part, which is the monitoring, evaluation, and learning platform. And this is, again, I echo what Dr. Ghaffari mentioned about the capitalization, because we built this not from scratch, but in a partnership with ICARD and CGR. And now all 129 funded BRIMA projects are now using this platform for monitoring, for submitting their evaluation, their deliverables and documents and so on. And you as well, you can access this platform through the BRIMA website portfolio of all projects, where you can navigate and see the different projects and their outputs and outcomes. This is my last slide about the final conclusion and the takeaway, how to change this thumb down to thumb up. First, you need to identify carefully the stakeholders or your users that you are going to address and their informational demands, like what data they wanted to show, to see or retrieve. Analyze and plan and design carefully your platform before going to the designer and start development phase. The sustainability and capitalization again. And finally, the interoperability, because as you can see here, we are using different platforms, but it is going to be easy now for us to extract the data from one platform and then import it to another platform. This would save for sure time and effort, again, as well as you are going to neglect or ignore the human error as well. Thank you so much for your attention. And just I'm finishing with this quote that we are in BRIMA, we are truly believe on the open access of the data and openness of the research findings. And we are developing such interlinked and interactive platforms in order to serve this purpose. And thank you so much for your attention. And back to you, Becky, now.
Thank you, Dr. Mohammed Wadi. It was very informative and, as usual, interesting. Lots of things, lots of issues to digest here. But I will just start with one question that we received on the platform, and then we go on with our other questions. The question was sent to us in French from Iman Mustah. Nous sommes une start-up dans le domaine de agritourisme durable et thérapeutique. Telcom a une plateforme application mobile pour ce domaine et on veut they are startup in the field of sustainable and therapeutic agritourism. They have a mobile application. She is asking if we have a mobile application platform for this field and you want to join a community to use it. Maybe Mr. Reem would intervene and then we can go on after that with our questions. Thank you.
Merci. Oui, en effet, si j'ai bien compris, la question, c'est une start-up qui est portée par le projet, une application mobile au niveau du domaine d'aujourd'hui. Au niveau de la Tunisie, par rapport aux porteurs de projets innovants qui sont pas portés par des structures publiques, les programmes sont variés et disponibles et ouverts au public au niveau de la participation ouverte dans les appels qui se font. Et pour bénéficier des fonds et pour présenter aussi les projets, leurs projets sur le plan scientifique, leur innovation, en fait, pour pouvoir bénéficier des fonds disponibles. Ce qu'on présente aussi à certains projets, des programmes d'appui à ces structures, des appuis dans le sens des formations spécifiques pour leurs projets, pour leur permettre de développer leurs idées innovantes, pour leur permettre de faire leur business plan, de faire l'étude de marché, de voir aussi évaluer partiellement, je ne dirais pas d'une manière approfondie leur projet et ce genre de projets peuvent bénéficier des fonds disponibles pour leur permettre une insertion dans le marché et une assistance à différents niveaux pour leur permettre une participation dans la levée de fonds internationaux ou autres sources de financement. Au niveau de la Tunisie, c'est-à-dire au niveau de cet appui public. Au niveau de l'appui privé, il y a aussi plusieurs mécanismes, plusieurs programmes nationaux qui pourraient servir à ce genre d'innovation, porteurs d'idées de start-up, mais aussi au niveau du programme Horizon Europe, il y a plusieurs opportunités dans ce sens qui peuvent être présentées bien sûr dans le cadre du programme Horizon Europe et peuvent aussi bénéficier des fonds disponibles dans ce programme sachant que le programme Horizon Europe, c'est un programme très compétitif et qui nécessite une innovation assez développée et comparable à l'échelle internationale. Et ça, c'est ce qui fait la différence entre des projets nationaux et des projets internationaux.
Merci, Madame Saïd. I will still encourage our audiences to send their questions. However, I will start with one of the questions because, as you doctors mentioned, that there is this wide variety of projects that have been going on since FP7 and FP5 and the Horizon and Prima and all those great projects that always have an outcome, that always have a research outcome and direction. But how can we optimize? I know that you have touched on them, but I mean, how can we practically optimize on the usage of such research outputs? Because there are a lot out there, but how can we optimize or have a directed impact on the SMEs specifically in the
since the question is SMEs, I hope you don't mind if I go first. Listen.
Of course, thank you.
The efficiency of turning research into any kind of impact is very low. Okay, it's the nature of research is that people will do research and then we hope something will come out of it. The efficiency is very low always by nature. This is not our fault. This is the system that we are dealing with, because if we're not doing this, then we're not doing research. Research has to be ambitious. It has to look into the future. It has to be risky. We must not know the result before we start. Otherwise, it's not research. Okay.
Yeah.
And so because research is this big, beautiful monster that we have to deal with every day, turning research into some kind of impact is also, something that is so far into the future, we don't normally think about it even until recently. Okay. And Why are we pushed to do this? Because we look to researchers to solve problems. Okay, we live in a world that is full of problems, and whenever something bad happens, like COVID, for example, we will look at the researchers that develop new vaccines to say, hey, have you invented a new way to produce a vaccine, maybe very, very quickly, because we need one now? And then researchers will say, yeah, by the way, I was working on this 10 years ago. Look, I have a... This is how research works. The problem is, in WEF Nexus and everything else, okay, but we are now in WEF Nexus. Our problems are no longer chronic. They are acute. They are here today, and we have an issue. This means we cannot afford low efficiency in valorizing research outputs. If research can create impact, it might be existential that we adopt it. Okay, this is becoming serious. Okay, it's been serious for a while, but this is becoming serious now. Okay, imagine that, for example, BioNTech, this immigrant Turkish German startup, was not taken seriously or did not find the right funding, or we wouldn't have the Pfizer vaccine now. Okay, which was the first one on the market. Of course, then AstraZeneca came after that, and a lot of people came after that. But that research is driven by these very small, often heavily funded, heavily backed publicly research companies. Okay, the same in water. Maybe we have a problem in water. It's not going to disappear on its own. Somebody has to innovate our way out of it. I'll tell you a problem that we've noticed in trying to increase the efficiency to valorize, because this has been the focus of FEMAC, and this is now the focus of WEFCAP. I keep saying WEFCAP, it's a very new ENI CBC Med project. So it's like it's a capitalization project. Okay, it's very similar to WEFCAP, but it's a different approach under a different framework. But I'm hoping that we can find the synergies between the two. They're playing in different zones, almost like the same project, but in a different time zone. I think that we from the inside can see the similarity between FEMAC and WEFCAP. And the problem, like the similarity, is the same between the two. We had a big effort to start by saying, don't worry about intellectual property rights. Don't worry about confidentiality. We will help you manage these. This is for the researchers to tell them, you know, you can work with us. We can help you manage your intellectual property. We can help you protect your intellectual property. We can help you with your confidentiality agreements. I wish this was the problem. I really wish this was the problem. We spent so much time perfecting our intellectual property policy. We even have a policy for the project. We perfected our intellectual property agreements, our licensing agreements, our models, our confidentiality policy, our confidentiality agreements. The problem is we don't see the projects. The data is not there. And I get so proud of Prima when they show the analytics that they have done. This is fantastic. This is mobilization of data, okay? You take some very abstract, heavy-duty numbers that are very difficult to read, and you produce these beautiful infographics that capture an image objectively with so much knowledge immediately. You get your knowledge right away. How do we reflect this on the technical outputs of research? This is something we've never done. Okay, so Prima, you've done a great job in capturing, you know, the Prima inputs, the Prima outputs, the number of projects, the money spent, the big indicators that you are searching. You're very clearly, you are very capable of capturing all of this and producing these amazing bits of knowledge. Can we do this on a project level on the technical outputs? What do I mean? What do I mean? That a technology used in this context saves so much money. This type of knowledge is not at hand. We don't see it, and unfortunately, until we get to see it, all the platforms will have a problem valorizing. Okay, this is actually not a Prima problem. I have to say, this is a platform problem, because all of the platforms have the same issue. So they're very good at showing the activity and showing the, you know, when we're doing activities and then impact, and then the same is for the framework itself. It has the same issue. So I wonder if we can do that.
Okay, now that, thank you so much, Dr. Jafari, for your input. And since you mentioned PRIMA, and since you mentioned the policy, which was my next question, as we can see, as we all agree that there is some kind of gap between the policy and the actual needs of the field and the market. So I would like to have the input of Dr. Wadi and Ms. Saeed afterwards regarding the gap in this policy, and if they would like to also to add anything for the previous question.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much, Pakina, for this. I'm going to answer it from the perspective of a funding agency, which is here. I'm representing PRIMA. Okay, in fact, I totally agree with what Dr. Ghafari mentioned about, okay, it is you who decide how you are going to make sure your application is going to be accessible, usable for the users, and so on. So that's why every time we develop or think something about, let's say, a platform for the submission or for the analytical tool or for the website, we are thinking about the users who are going to use this platform and what type of data and what type of presentation of this data as well they wanted to see this data or access this data. In fact, for this analytical tool, for instance, we developed it by ourselves, not by an external agency, but let's say we taught ourselves on this, and we developed this because we get the sense, okay, of the applicants, of the Board of Trustees, of the European Commission for the future analysis and so on, what types of data that we wanted to see. And the second or the main motive for us to develop such platforms like the monitoring evaluation learning platform or this analytical tool is to make sure to open access this data to the public, because we developed this analytical tool 2 years ago, but then we decided it is now the time to make it public for the others. So you can retrieve the data, you can do the analysis by your own and select your direction. For the project itself, for sure, apart from the sensitive data like the internal documents or reporting, we as well working now to make it as well public. So the visualization part of this platform is going to be as well open or available to the users, to the public, so you can see who developed this projects, or if I'm like, for instance, if I'm Tunisian expert working in farming, and I wanted to know the different PRIMA projects or other projects dealing in Tunisia in the farming sector, I can go to this mail platform and I can do this retrieving of the data. And perhaps you can, let's say, not to overlap or duplicate the effort, but maybe you can synergize with already running projects and running activity. And this will solve one of the main problems that we have in the region, in the Mediterranean region, especially in the southern and eastern part of the Mediterranean, which is the fragmentation of the system. Like we used to repeat the funding, or we fund what has been already funded before and previously. With such platforms, you are using the platform not as a goal by itself, but just as an instrument to share the data and knowledge. And for instance, we are now in a partnership or discussion, deep discussion with the UFM, the Union for Mediterranean, and with the ENI CBCMED to see how we are going to synergize and share the knowledge, not just between program inside, but also from program to program level. Like we can develop an instrument at program based or a program level. So the projects funded under these projects, under these different programs or instruments, can share their information and can cooperate together. This is at the political level, and that's why this is returning back to your question. The political will, it's the driver for anything in our region. Yeah. This is the fact that we have to deal with. So if we have this, so we have to go in this direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Razi. Madame Saeed, would you like to add? Vous pouvez intercepter.
Merci. Oui, en effet. Juste petite remarque par rapport aux plateformes. En fait, ces plateformes sont des outils très intéressants, très importants par rapport aux chercheurs au niveau de cette collaboration et ce partage de données entre tous les intervenants tout en mettant un écosystème tout entier qui pourrait être exploité par tous les membres de l'écosystème. Il ne faut pas que ces plateformes soient limitées à des programmes, mais il faut que ce soit des plateformes pérennes, durables, qui permettraient de continuer le travail, non seulement par rapport à des programmes internationaux ou des programmes bien précis, nationaux ou autres, mais aussi que ça soit leur exploitation et leur utilisation doivent continuer pour créer cet écosystème collaboratif et sur des thématiques bien déterminées. Cette fois-ci, peut-être ce sont des plateformes thématiques pour des projets, des appels internationaux ou pour des appels bien spécifiques. Mais il faut continuer sur le travail par ce principe-là pour créer cette famille de membres collaboratifs ensemble et qui vont traiter tous les projets dans les domaines et dans les thématiques qui intéresserait tout l'écosystème et tous les utilisateurs de cette plateforme. D'où ces plateformes telles que les programmes de Prima ou autres appels ou autres programmes internationaux doivent être utilisés au niveau régional, au niveau interne, mais aussi au niveau des structures et des départements spécialisés pour pouvoir créer des consortiums solides pour pouvoir participer dans le futur dans les prochains appels et dans des thématiques qui intéresseraient l'écosystème et tous les participants des utilisateurs des plateformes. Et c'est un outil très important et très intéressant parce qu'il fait regrouper tous les membres de différentes origines et qui pourrait être, l'échange pourrait être direct entre eux pour pouvoir exploiter au maximum ces plateformes.
Merci, Madame Farid. I know that there are so many points that we could cover, and we still would like to cover, and we can never get enough of all your knowledge. But maybe we can use the summing up since we are already at the hour. Maybe we can each of you would sum up and possibly integrate the tools if possible to best utilize the capabilities of the research and the other possibilities for the investors. I mean, not for the investors, for the startups and so forth. So kindly proceed. I will give the floor first to Dr. Jafari.
Yeah, I advise everybody to seek out clusters. They are underutilized, even with the problems, even with the lack of evidence for success. Let's say they are very useful for startups. And I'll talk now in particular about the new project WEFCAP that's coming up with a meta cluster. It's not a new platform per se, okay, but it's more like aggregating existing platforms around the new South Med-based water energy food observatory. So this is a new approach, okay, and it adds functionality to what's going on, and we're looking forward to launching this, I think, at the end of this year sometime. I think at the end of this year, at the end of 2022, we should be seeing that meta cluster coming live. So no, everybody seek out meta clusters, find your partners. Innovation is a group activity. It has to be done through a network.
Great, thank you, Dr. Jafari. Dr. Wahi?
Thank you, Pakinam. So I have two quick intervention here. First, it's very important to think about the capitalization because this is gonna to save a lot of resources that we already have, that we are already invested in this area. Second, tomorrow we will have the kickoff or the info day of Prima, and you will see that we are gonna to highlight usually about the synergy with other strategic initiatives or European missions, or we always used to refer to the other similar running projects or activities in the region, and we used to ask our applicants to be engaged with such or to ad hoc with these initiatives, not to repeat or to invent it from scratch, but to build on what has been already found over the years, and then you can build on it. Regarding to a question that we received on the chat by an old friend, Leonardo, about the KPIs and to move toward really impactful projects. That's why you can see that we used to fund projects with a high TRL, high technology level, so they are close to the market, so you can penetrate to the market, you can commercialize it, and so on. And this would increase the impact of the projects and the investment, because we need to consider that we are talking about public money at the end, even if it is Section 1 or Section 2, and we have to show to the taxpayers and to the citizen that their money and their taxes have been invested in the best way. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Dr. Wagi, and thank you for replying to Mr. Piccinetti. I hope I'm pronouncing the name right. And we go to Madame Reem Saïd for the summing up.
Oui, en effet, j'aimerais insister sur le fait que pour le prochain projet Horizon Europe et les différents appels potentiels qui pourraient intéresser surtout les porteurs de projets innovants et les startups qui seront traités cette fois-ci au niveau du pilier innovation, qui est un pilier important dans le programme, de nouveau programme Horizon Europe, qu'il faut bien présenter les projets et se positionner à une échelle internationale et pas à une échelle nationale. C'est-à-dire il faut que la présentation de leur projet soit d'une manière très cohérente et très importante, très intéressante pour que leur permettre cette compétition importante et importante à eux, et pour leur permettre aussi de se positionner et de se retrouver à l'échelle internationale, parce que je pense qu'il y a pas mal de participants qui sont situés à un niveau national et qui n'ont pas une idée globale et générale à tout ce qui est international. Et donc, c'est une occasion d'être sûr de l'innovation qui va se présenter et bien présenter leur projet et profiter de cette occasion qui pourrait, à l'échelle de leur pays, peut-être ne pas être une opportunité disponible, mais dans le projet d'Horizon Europe, sont des projets très importants et très intéressants dans des thématiques qui leur concerneraient et qui concernent pratiquement tous les pays qui y participent. Donc, j'aimerais bien insister sur ce pilier très important au niveau de l'innovation et qui porte sur des thématiques très importantes. Voilà, et merci.
Merci beaucoup, Madame Saïd. As usual, there isn't enough time, but we will have to wrap up. I just would like to draw the attention to all attendees that the Innovation Week is extended till January 20th, and you will have the chance to communicate with our panelists and the rest of the panelists, of course, throughout the event and other keynotes. So have a great and successful event, and see you soon. Thank you so much, Dr. Jafari. Thank you so much, Dr. Wagi, and thank you so much, Madame Reem Saïd. Merci beaucoup. Your inputs were great, and I look forward to our next event. Thank you so much. Have a lovely evening. Bye. Bye.